All right.
We're rolling.
We are rolling. Hey, Stanley.
Are we on?
We're on.
Okay.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, Mickey, and all of our devoted followers, we hope. It is now mid-January in 2025. A new year for Mickey and me here. We have been away for a few weeks, mostly because Mickey has been traveling, and I will ask him to tell us about that.
Sure. Yeah, I did a lot of traveling for the holidays. I started, I guess, in Thanksgiving. I went to my fiance's family's house in Pennsylvania for Thanksgiving. Shortly after that, went to visit my grandmother, who is not doing so well in Canada. So it was like a 3-hour drive at Thanksgiving there, and then a 9-hour drive to Canada, a 9-hour drive back. Then we went to Ohio, which was a 9-hour drive. After that, stayed for 3 days, went back to Pennsylvania for Christmas. It's another 5-hour drive from Ohio, then a 4-hour drive back home to my parents, and then to Canada again, another 9-hour drive, and then back another 9-hour drive. So I spent pretty much as much time in the car as I did with different family members around North America. And now we're back. Now we're back in the new year, and I've started a new job.
And tell our audience about your new job, please.
Yeah, well, it's very much in line with coaching, which is what I do privately with my own private clients. But this is more in line with like corporate-based coaching. So I work for a consultation or a consultant agency that their primary client is Jaguar Land Rover, and so I facilitate courses training Jaguar Land Rover's sales executives and managers in interpersonal skills, basically how to more authentically and effectively communicate, how to represent the brand that they work for, and how to maintain long-lasting relationships with their clients. And all of the work that I do with them on a professional level, from my personal goal is to ensure that it's all applicable and transferable to their personal life as well. So it's really about just helping people become more effective communicators and build their interpersonal skills. So that's what I'm doing with them, and it's a new job for me.
What have you had to learn for this job?
Well, because it's in the automotive space, and everyone that I'm training or facilitating training for are automotive professionals. They work as either sales executives, service advisors, parts advisors, or managers of different retailers around the country. And because they work in that space, I have to really understand their industry. And I have never owned a car. I know very little about cars, but I'm learning pretty rapidly about the automotive industry, about what's required to become, an effective salesperson in that space, and, all the parts, all the technology that goes into these vehicles. I mean, Jaguar Land Rover is a modern luxury brand, boutique modern luxury brand. So they make very, very high quality vehicles,
Nice.
and very few of them. So the cars that they're selling are really nice. And I'm not used to driving cars like that, but I do get to drive them a little bit while I'm there, and learning all this stuff. So it's been cool.
I'm just curious to know what sort of price range are those cars?
The price range probably varies from somewhere around $50,000 to $200,000.
Really?
Yeah, depending on which car you're getting and what you're putting into it. I mean, if you're getting all the bells and whistles and you're getting all the extra added features, then it could get up to like 200,000, maybe more. But the lowest end is around 50,000, 50 to 55,000 for one of their lower end vehicles, which is still a really, really nice car, but lower end for them. I don't think I'll be driving one anytime soon.
Way back when I was teaching, I had a car. I bought a used Olds two-door car. It was really cute. It held four people with a bit of squeezing in, and drove it back and forth to New Rochelle day after day after day after day. Parked on the street, and it was very reliable. It rarely gave me any heartache, except that then I had to find parking every day because I didn't have a garage, and none of my fellow teachers offered to get me a garage. So when I finally retired from teaching, I retired from the car. I really didn't want to bother with it anymore.
It's the only car you ever owned?
I had one prior to that, but my family's car I drove always from age 16 on. In Texas, you, at least in those days, you got a license at 16, and I did. I could hardly wait. Sure, I was the big guy among my crowd because I had a license to drive.
Freedom.
Yeah, it was wonderful, sure. Anyway, it's interesting that you're coming to the automobile world around the time that I left it, because I have not driven a car, any car really, in maybe 8-10 years now.
Oh, wow.
I haven't had any particular reason to.
Yeah.
So that's.
You think you'd still remember how?
I imagine, yeah.
Like riding a bike?
Well,
little
that's
harder
right.
than
I
riding a
mean,
bike.
it's a skill.
Yeah,
a
for
skill
sure.
knowledge.
Yeah. Were you an
And-
aggressive driver?
I was a pretty good driver.
Were you aggressive? Did you get like road rage in traffic?
No, no,
No.
no. I got a ticket once when I took some friends over to Fort Worth, when I should not have been doing that.
Why?
And because it was my parents' car, and I was still very young.
What was the ticket for?
That's a good question. I don't remember. Must have been speeding.
For speeding?
And it was very embarrassing because I was not supposed to be there.
Yeah, I've had a few tickets in my day, but one in particular. There were two that were silly. One, I was maybe 18, and I had taken a girl on a date to the bowling alley, and she had, or I had brought a bottle of tequila in the car with us to go to the bowling alley. And when we got to the bowling alley, we each took like maybe 2 shots of tequila, and then we just went bowling. And then we got back in the car. I drove her home. I dropped her off, and then I was driving home. And I got pulled over by a cop when I was going past the church in my town. He was in the parking lot. It's probably like 11 at night. And he said I was going 50 in a 30. And I was. But he followed me. Before he pulled me over, he just drove behind me. He followed me for like half a mile, maybe, before he finally pulled me over. And when he pulled me over, he came to the car. He told me I was speeding, blah, blah, blah. He looked in the back of my car with the flashlight, and he saw a bottle of tequila that was open. And
an 18-year-old.
And I was 18. He didn't breathalyze me or anything, and I wasn't drunk, but I was 18, so if I had any alcohol in my system, then, that's not legal. He didn't breathalyze me, but he said, "What's this?" And I told him this story off the top of my head immediately. I said, "Oh my God, like, I didn't even know that was in here. I just went to a funeral in Rhode Island yesterday for my friend's father, and after the funeral, we brought like a bunch of alcohol from like the little sort of celebration thing after the funeral, celebration of life. We brought a bunch of the alcohol back to her mother's house, and I brought it in my car, and it must have rolled under the seat, and I didn't even know that it was in there. I must have driven all the way back from Rhode Island with that in the car. And he was like, okay, well, pour it out. So he made me pour the entire bottle of tequila out on the street.
Oh, my goodness.
And he said, I could give you a ticket for speeding, for having an open container in the vehicle, for being underage with an open container of liquor in the vehicle, but I'm just going to give you the speeding ticket. So just go home. And I was like, okay, thank you so much. I went home. The next morning, I told my dad that had happened. And he immediately was like, oh, I can get this taken care of. And he called his best friend, who was really good friends with all the police in my town. And he was like, my friend he'll talk to the cop and he'll get it bumped down to a non-moving violation or get it wiped away completely. And I was like, no, you don't have to do that. Because I just told my dad I was speeding and I got a speeding ticket. And so he said, no, we'll get it bumped down. And I said, no, you don't have to do that. Like, I totally deserved it. Like, I'll just pay the ticket. And he's like, no, like, let my friend fix it. And I didn't want to tell my dad that, like, the cop already did me a solid because he could have really screwed me over. And my dad now is saying that we're going to try and combat him and tell him that it doesn't need to be a speeding ticket. And I convinced my dad, without ever telling him what had actually happened, I convinced him just to let me pay the speeding ticket, let me learn my lesson. And then, like, 10 years later, I finally told my dad, like, just so you know, that speeding ticket, I could have probably been arrested for, like, drunk, having alcohol at 18 in my system and driving.
And now you're part of the automotive world.
Now I'm part of the automotive world. Now I'm a big boy talking about brake calipers and
$50,000 cars.
$150,000 cars.
That's right. That's the cheap one.
Yeah, that's the cheap one. Exactly.
Well,
yeah.
Anyway, hi everybody again. Happy New Year. Happy 2025. And we should talk a little bit now that we're in a new year about the new year and our plans and our hopes and our doubts and whatever. What do you want to say?
About my plans, my hopes, and my doubts? Yeah, I don't know. I'm really excited for this year. I feel like the energy in the country is, just the first time I feel like things are kind of settling. There was so much tension all the election year, so much tension in the country, all the things that have been going on in, Russia and Ukraine and in Palestine and Israel and all this stuff that's happening. And I feel like now that the election year's over, the country's kind of starting to get back to normal. People are not thinking about politics every second of every day, not yelling and screaming online about politics all the time. And it's a relatively warm January. It's going to get warmer again in like a couple months. People in New York are feeling like positive, and the new year has started. And I just feel like a good energy about the year, especially obviously with this new job and whatnot. I feel like this is my year. Like, feel like I'm going to
Well, you have a wonderful event to look forward to. You want to speak a bit about that?
If you've listened to any other episodes in the past, you know that I'm getting married in October. But yeah, getting married in October, which is going to be a really exciting new step in life. Sarah and I are both really, really excited about it. And it's been fun planning. It's stressful a little bit, but it's fun. And again, now with this new job, and I have some really new cool opportunities coming up with some art stuff. So I feel good about this year. I feel like I'm ready to sort of step into a new chapter of myself, take myself a little more seriously, drink a little less, party a little less, work a little harder, be a little more proactive in my creative endeavors, wake up a little earlier, and become a grown up.
In my experience, you have been the least lazy person I know. You're always working hard. You get along with very little sleep. You have a lot of energy, and hopefully all those things will pay off.
Thank you. I'm glad I'm glad the ruse is working. I definitely am not. I'm definitely very tired.
It works.
Yeah, it's funny because prior to this job, I've up until now been working like 6 jobs at all times, constantly changing different jobs, but they're all gig-based jobs. I work on a Wednesday and I get paid for that Wednesday, and I work on a Saturday, I get paid for that Saturday, and then I find, some work just any artist who lives in New York has 5 or 6 jobs at all times. But I've always been like chasing my own rent, like I hope I make enough money this month to be able to pay my rent, and I hope I can afford to do this. But in terms of like the sense of stability that comes with a salary, which is so silly to say, but I've just never had a salary till now. And the mental shift is incredible. Like when work is over, I actually can relax, sit on my couch, have dinner, spend time with a friend. Whereas prior to this, the second work is over, I'm immediately reaching out to people, trying to find another job or another way to make some money tomorrow.
Yeah.
So you never get any opportunity to rest. And from a creative perspective, as an actor and as a painter, I have to take my painting very, very, not that I don't take it seriously anyway, but I have to take it very seriously in terms of like a professional endeavor. And so the pressure and the stress of painting in the hopes that someone will buy it makes it not fun. Whereas now, because I don't need someone to buy a painting, I can paint because I love it. And then if someone loves it, that's amazing. And if they want to buy it, that's wonderful. If I can show it in a gallery, that's so great. But I'm not like desperate anymore for that. So now I can really enjoy the things that I love to do just because I love to do them, instead of hoping that someone likes it enough to give me money for it, And that's a freedom feeling that I haven't had in a long time.
So you feel very hopeful about this year. That's good.
I do. I feel like I'm stepping into a version of myself that I've yet to meet. I think I've met him in instances, brief, fleeting instances throughout the past 5 years or so. But I feel like we're now becoming friends, me and this guy that is, I think, going to be me this year, and hopefully moving forward. We'll see. How about you? What are you looking forward to this year, 2025?
My year, I hope, is going to be healthy. That's number one. Or number one is just to be alive still.
Mm.
To have reached an age that I never, ever anticipated. So my hope is to be alive and healthy, to be able to stay in the very place where I have been staying and am quite happy here. As far as the world is concerned, I am not as optimistic as Mickey. We have a president who will be inaugurated actually the day after tomorrow. Recently, the people who he wants in his cabinet, the secretary of any number of different positions, have been questioned before members of Congress. And one party has largely supported them, and the other party has largely questioned them and maybe not supported them. So a lot of that is up in the air. Hopefully, they will do a good and ethical job in their new positions. That remains to be seen, as does how the new president will behave. He has made a lot of promises, a lot, much of which he predicts will get done the very first day. Well, we'll see about that. Meanwhile, it is so cold around the Northeast that the inauguration ceremony, which is almost always outside with big crowds, is being moved inside in the rotunda of the Capitol in D.C. because of the fear of people getting ill from being out and standing outside for hours and maybe watching a parade and so on. So the president-elect, I think, cannot be very happy about that because he likes to have big crowds. And he will not have a big crowd because it's going to be inside, not outside. That will be interesting to see. Anyway, as for me, yes, I hope to be still healthy, no worse off a year from now than I am right now. I'm very grateful to be where I am. It's a word, gratitude is a word that I have used lots of times, and I mean it earnestly, sincerely, truthfully. I am grateful for what I have, and I have a lot. I would like to go back and do some more writing. I think I'm ready to do that. I believe that, well, I think I would like maybe to postpone that until we speak again next time, what I would like to write about.
Okay.
But I think it's basically, it's going to be about me and where I am and where I have come to. I believe that at this age, one should do that and not simply say, oh, okay, well, I am da-da-da, whatever age. I think one has to account for where you are at a certain age, and certainly the age that I'm at. Yeah, so that's my hope, and I hope for peace in the world, for that for sure. I have a couple of friends who are ill. One in Europe and one in Texas. Both of them are, I hope, in the healing period. We'll see. Those are my hopes.
That's great. I'm excited that you're going to be writing again.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, it
won't be a book. I'm past the book.
Yeah. Well, that's all right. I think that the practice of writing is just it's such a wonderful meditation and review of yourself.
You're absolutely right. And I will tell you that if I have spent an hour or an hour and a half, even just that little bit in a day, at the end of the day, I think back on what did I do today, and I feel a certain satisfaction that I spent that time writing. Yeah, it's satisfying to me.
There's something powerful about, at the end of the day, looking at something like a piece of writing, whether it be a journal entry or a poem or a book or whatever it is, looking at it and saying, if not for me, this would not exist.
And I think it's something that anybody can do. Anyone can keep a journal. Journal keeping, and I'm sorry to say that I didn't ever do that in my life, but it can be very satisfying too.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be great literature. Just putting down how you felt. What did you do? What was good? What was bad?
Well, it's an account of your little perspective on life, and
that's right.
One day when you're gone, like, those things will still remain, and that is powerful. I've started my friend, one of my best friends, I've mentioned him before on the show, Grant. He started writing 15 minutes every morning, first thing in the morning.
Really?
And so I started doing it too.
Good.
And so now I wake up in the morning. I don't touch my phone. I go make a coffee. I take that coffee into the other room and I sit and I write for 15 minutes.
Good.
And just have a coffee. And it has been such a profound...
Bless you.
Thank you. It has been such a profound way to start my day because it provides me so much clarity. It takes all the jumbling, racing thoughts in my head and organizes them in a fashion where I can actually hear them, and slows me down, forces me to review myself in the beginning of the day, take account for where I'm at, when I'm starting this day, where I want to be, what I want to accomplish today, set goals for the day, and then start my day with a sense of purpose that I think I forgot for I don't know how many years now, how not purposeful I had been starting my days for so long, because I just start and look at my phone, look on Instagram, see who texted me, make a coffee, and then go to do the stuff I have to do. But the intention behind it was sort of passive, and it's been a really powerful feeling to make my intention active first thing in the morning.
Do you, when you sit down early in the day and write for the quarter hour, is it with the idea of laying out your day or reviewing the day before, or
No, it's
what you hope to do, or
stream of consciousness? Oftentimes I just start writing. And
Okay.
then the rule for me is like, I don't read it back while I'm doing it. I just write, and I have to write for 15 minutes. And so I'm not reviewing it. I'm not making sure the grammar's correct. I'm not making sure it makes sense. I'm just writing. I'm not editing at all. I just go. And where my thoughts take me, if it's what happened yesterday, what I'm scared about, what I'm excited about, what I want to do today, or if it's a poem, or if it's whatever comes out, it just comes out.
Good.
And I just let the mind
yeah,
have a full occupied activity for 15 minutes. And then once that's over, I can read it or I can not. Sometimes I don't even read it. I just close the book and then start my day. I also write by hand because I can type a lot faster than I can write. And I think that because I write so much slower, it forces my mind to slow down in order to get it out. So I've been writing by hand in the morning, which has been frustrating but nice. Yeah.
sounds good.
Yeah, it is. It is good. Do you have like any one primary intention that you start your days with?
Just the routine stuff that people do, bathroom stuff, shower, getting dressed, having breakfast.
Oh, I meant like an intention. Like, today I'm going to be this kind of person, or today I'm going to fill in the blank.
No, not really. I sort of let that go, except that I look forward to any engagement that I have for the day. I look forward to seeing you this morning and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when some of the necessary duties get done, then in the afternoon usually I watch or I listen on the computer. I listen to good music on YouTube, which has a wonderful array of music available. It's all free. It's great. Or watch ballet, watch dance, or I read. All of those are very pleasant things for me. Really pleasant. Yeah.
What is it about reading for you that you love?
It gives me something to focus on, to shut out the world for a while. Yeah. Ideally, reading something that I really like. Now, I do belong to a book club, and not everything that we read is high on my list of favorites. But I read it anyway because it's sort of my job to do that. If I'm going to be in the group, that's what I got to do. And some are better than others, sure.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
And if I am writing, which I did some of actually yesterday, I leave it with the beginning of a new sentence so that I know where to go back to.
That's really cool.
And to continue from that.
I love that.
It gives me a link
Yeah.
to keep going.
That's really cool. I've never heard that before.
Yeah. It's helpful.
Yeah. Stanley, we're about at time.
Okay. Well, we are here, Mickey and I. We have now been doing this almost 2 years.
Yeah.
And we're still talking to each other.
I know. I still have new things to say.
We're still being polite with one another. And we're still here to wish everybody a really good, happy, peaceful, prosperous New Year.
Yeah.
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 And with good health.
Yeah. Happy 2025, everybody. It's going to be a good one. No reason to think that it won't until it isn't.
Good.
You know.
We will see you again.
See you then. Bye, everybody.